the Historic Preservation Commission for Wednesday, November 6th. May I have a roll call vote, please, Beth?
Commissioner Barkley?
Here.
Commissioner Weinberger?
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez is absent. Commissioner Harlow?
Here.
Commissioner Prisby?
Here.
Commissioner Elder?
Here.
Chairman Bonin?
Here. I was not here last meeting, but you, those that were, please review the minutes and see if there's any additions or corrections that you need to make.
I did not see anything.
And I reviewed mine, didn't see anything either. Yep.
That's good.
Yep.
May I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented, please?
I move to approve minutes from Wednesday, September 6th, 2023.
Second, please.
Second.
Roll call vote, Bethany?
Commissioner Barkley?
Aye.
Commissioner Weinberger?
Aye.
Commissioner Harlow?
Aye.
Commissioner Prisby?
Aye.
Commissioner Elder?
Abstain, I wasn't here.
And Chairman Bonin?
Abstain. Okay. First item on our agenda is public hearing for case HPC 14-2023, consideration of properties for inclusion on the historically significant structures property list in the Historic Overlay District. This is the sixth list of properties brought forward for review by our commission, Preservation Commission. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing, please?
I'll move to open the public hearing.
Second.
Roll call vote, please, Bethany.
Commissioner Barkley? Aye. Commissioner Weinberger?
Aye.
Commissioner Harlow?
Aye.
Commissioner Prisby?
Aye.
Commissioner Elder?
Aye.
Chairman Bonin?
Hi. During this public hearing, we're going to be considering various properties proposed for inclusion on the historically significant structures property list in the Historic Overlay District. If anyone in the audience wishes to speak on the matter in general or regarding any particular property, would you please stand and raise your right hand and be sworn in by our recorder? Seeing none, village planner will provide a brief review of the item and review the process required by the village code. Staff will go through each property. If staff receives any comments from the public or commissioners that can't attend the meeting, these can be read aloud for the record.
Okay, so we're here again on our sixth round of properties. Today we have 5 properties that are in front of us for review. If you remember, this will be a very similar process that we've all done before. And I will go through each of these properties. There's been information on the history included in the packets. And as we go through one by one, we can determine the evaluation criteria that each property meets. The evaluation criteria is listed on page 2 of the staff report, and it's also included in Exhibit 4 as well. So with that, I'll go through each of these properties. The first property we have on our list today is 232 South Clay Street. This is in the R4 Single Family District. And we received some information on this from the Hinsdale Historical Society and the homeowner, which, depending on which source you look at, it's believed that this house was constructed in 1898, somewhere between 1898 and 1915. We have past surveys that call it historically significant. The reconnaissance survey from 1999 calls it significant, and it was included in the town of Hinsdale survey from 2001 that was potentially significant and contributing. So there's information included in here, and this was the information included from the Hinsdale Historical Society. And then we did have information from Downers Grove Assessor's Office, as well as a Sanborn map that shows the original footprint of the house. The biggest change that's happened that we found out was that the porch was enclosed, which you can see from this. So with that, we can review the criteria.
So I would say criterion number 3 qualifies. And I just have to state for the record that I love that in 1903, the property tax was $1.37.
Any other comments?
I agree.
I thought three
Both-
was,
With both comments.
I think 3 was the only one that really qualified.
Okay, so criteria number 3. The next house on our list up for discussion is 202 East 4th Street. I'm sure many of you are aware of this house. It is already a designated local landmark that was designated by the village in 2003. It is considered significant based on our 1999 reconnaissance survey, significant from our 2007 Robbins Park survey, and we have quite a bit of additional information in here because this house has been quite documented over time. It's a Queen Anne home built in 1886. It is for sale if anyone's looking to purchase this home. So we had included quite a bit of information on this house because it is quite well documented from being a landmark.
Wish they'd restore that tower roof.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that was part of tower and broken.
You could do it.
So
Are you thinking 3 and 5?
it's already a landmark, so
Right.
At least.
3 and 5, maybe 6 as
6
well.
as well, yes.
Okay. We'll add 3, 5, and 6. Any other comments? Okay, we'll move on to the next one. The next property is 306 North Garfield Avenue. This house is in the R4 Single Family District. It was constructed circa 1890. It is considered contributing per the 1999 reconnaissance survey. It was then considered significant based on the North Hinsdale survey in 2005. And then we did look into some building permits that have been done. They've done some renovations to the house since 2005 when that original survey was done, including an addition on the north elevation and the porte cochere on the south elevation. So the house is in pretty good condition, but there have been a couple of changes since that survey, so we wanted to make sure those were included. And this is another example of a Queen Anne house.
very nice. You did a good job on that. I was afraid that was coming down years ago and this whole field.
Well, it's definitely number 3.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments? All right. The next property on the list is 134 South Park. This is also a designated historic landmark in the village that was designated in 2002. It's considered significant and historically significant per our 1999 reconnaissance survey, significant per the Robbins Park 1 survey, and it's another Queen Anne style house circa 1890. And we did, I think the Historic Preservation did review a certificate of appropriateness for this house in 2016, where they did do a first and second floor rear addition. So there's quite a bit of information in here as well, because once again, it's a landmark property already.
They did a nice job restoring the porch on the south.
3 for sure,
Yeah, definitely a 3.
maybe even 6.
Already landmarks.
Yeah, maybe 3 and 6.
I would agree with that.
Okay. And then, I believe this is the last house up for consideration. is 408 South Washington. This is also in the R4 district, constructed circa 1910. It features a craftsman style. It's kind of in a unique home in town, and it was rated significant and historically significant per the 1999 reconnaissance survey and significant per the 2001 Town of Hinsdale survey. And the front facade has been relatively unaltered.
Well, number 3,
Yeah.
Agree.
Agreed.
Okay. That's all the properties up for consideration, so these will go to the village board now for final review and approval. And if there's no other comments from the public, we can close the public hearing and then have the recommended motion.
This time, unless anybody has something more to say, we'll make a motion to close the public hearing. Please.
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second, please.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Barkley? Aye. Commissioner Weinberger?
Aye.
Commissioner Harlow?
Aye.
Commissioner Prisby?
Aye.
Commissioner Elder?
Aye.
Chairman Bonin?
Aye. Okay, move along now to sign permits.
I need the recommended motion before we move on for the recommendation. So page
Oh,
2,
okay.
to recommend this officially to the board.
To the board.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think there were any conflicts of interest in this case, so it's page 2, that recommended motion.
I move to recommend to the village board approval of the following properties for inclusion on the historically significant structures property list in the historic overlay district under case HPC-14-2023. And the properties are 232 South Clay Street, 202 East 4th Street, 306 North Garfield, 134 South Park, and 408 South Washington Street.
Second. Okay.
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Barkley? Aye. Commissioner Weinberger?
Aye.
Commissioner Harlow?
Aye.
Commissioner Prisby?
Aye.
Commissioner Elder?
Aye.
Chairman Bonin?
Aye. Okay, now we'll move on to sign permit reviews. We have 3 tonight. The first is case A-30-2023 for 33 East First Street, Frederick Lynn, installation of one wall sign. Is there anybody here speaking in behalf of this? Would you please come up to the podium and introduce yourself for us? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Cameron Anderson. I'm here representing Right Way Signs from Chicago on behalf of Frederick Lynn. So our proposal is to produce and install a sandblasted HDU sign for the front and side fascia of the building. And then on the front, there will be 1/4 inch thick aluminum letters. This is non-illuminated. There's goose lamps that are going to be replaced that are going to downlight the sign, but there's no internal illumination of the letters or anything like that. The sandblasted part of it will be painted black. The front piece will be produced in 2 pieces, so that you have one, because it's oversized. So in order to get the continuous look, we have to do it in 2 pieces, but it'll look as one continuous piece once it's installed. So.
Say there's existing gooseneck lights on there now?
There is existing gooseneck lights. They will be replaced. If you look at the final page in the packet, it shows the details on the new lights that they're going to replace it with. It should look.
The lights that are there now, are they considered antiques?
I don't know that. I don't believe so. But I don't have that information.
Is there a reason why you guys went with white?
White letters.
White for the downlights?
The downlights are black.
Because on all the images, you have them as white.
That's the existing.
Those are the existing. Yeah. So the sign is mocked up on the existing building. We don't have the lights mocked up on there.
Okay.
But yeah, they
Because
will
they
be.
look very similar to what you're selecting.
Yes, I think the intent is to replace them because I think the paint is faded on there, and so they want to put new black lights.
So that was one of my questions. was-
Yes.
Seemed odd that they would be in white.
Yeah, they're going to be black.
Then I just wanted to be clear, you mentioned 2 signs side as well, but that's just this black panel?
On the
Is that-
side, yeah. So the side will not have any lettering on it. It's just to kind of give it an architectural feature, as if so it matches the front. Because the side otherwise would be exposed metal. Like,
Yes, it-
yeah.
Yeah, okay. No other lettering?
What's
Just
that?
no other lettering, it's
Just
just on the
that.
front?
Yep, that's correct.
Right. Okay, 'cause I remember.
And the lettering in the windows has to come out.
Correct.
And so this is for a second floor business?
Yes, the tenant will be on the second floor.
And just to clarify, there is a separate entrance for this tenant around the corner, so they do have their own ground floor entrance. You just can't see, it's not facing straight on, it's to the right.
So what was the history of this thing? We looked at it. Is this a new business then?
Bethany, is there,
It's existing.
is there a tenant on the ground level?
Not at this time.
There's nothing on the first
So,
This was the furrier.
and that's the old Hinsdale Furrier
Yeah, it is
spot, right?
customs.
Correct.
What happens with the sign once there's a first floor tenant?
We've asked the building owner that question. I'm not 100% sure what the plan will be at that point. I just know that this is the sign that they wanted at this time.
Make it a little harder to rent out that first floor.
Yeah.
But
Didn't we hear this
that's not
last
our
year on this building?
We went
For the
through it.
exterior appearance site
Oh,
plan,
the
this
exterior,
wasn't
yeah.
reviewed. They
Right.
haven't come forward with the sign permit yet.
Gotcha.
So Frederick Lynn is on the second floor.
Correct.
The entrance is on the alley.
The entrance is, I don't know why our computer went off. If you look at,
It's over here.
Yeah, right.
yeah, it's kind of, if you look at this exhibit here, the one that faces full on.
Right.
There's a door facing the opposite way that if you had just turned, they have their own
I
separate
got
door.
So there will be ideally, or potentially there'll be a business that'll locate on the first floor.
Correct.
And if they want signage,
It'll have to come back for review and we don't know that plan yet.
but the signage that we're looking at tonight meets the criteria for the second floor,
Correct.
still allowing for some kind of signage on the first?
It allows for the second floor. So what our code says is it's the width of the tenant frontage or 25 square feet for each tenant that has a ground floor separate entrance.
Right.
So in this case, this building theoretically could have two 25 square feet signs. How they want to accommodate that second sign, we don't know right now. But that'll have to come back to review later.
On a sign. Particularly if there's no sign underneath it.
Maybe.
So how concerned should we be about?
Because we have two doors on the first floor.
Yes,
That's why they get 25 feet here.
yes, but I think that
This door gets 25 feet also,
correct, but where do you put it?
but where do you put it?
And that's what I think Chris was about to bring up.
Yeah, as a committee, how concerned should we be about this versus, it's gonna be the landlord's issue really, about attracting another tenant when there's no real room for signage. I don't know that that's our concern. I mean, I think this looks good. So I don't know that we need to worry ourselves about that, but maybe we do.
No, I guess our code allows for, even though it might not look attractive, ultimately, if there's a tenant on the first floor, and they get 25 feet of signage. And they plaster it on the window.
That's an option. They could have a permanent window sign,
Exactly.
and they could
And
have
so that's a
yep.
whole lot of signage on the front of that building, but our code allows for it.
But it would come back for review, so if there was a sign clutter situation or something that you guys would want to review per the standards in the code, that's something for the future. We just don't have those plans at this point.
But as our code signs, our code is now, we have no concern because we can have no concern.
Correct.
Right,
As of right now, it meets code.
right, okay.
So as is, it's
I
fine.
get it. I get it. Okay.
I don't have any problem with the sign. I do think it's confusing. Where actually this is located with that right smack in the front. You think you're going right in the front door, but I guess that's probably not our problem. I don't know.
It looks like a sign for first floor store.
Absolutely.
Correct.
But
Okay.
if it's the only thing in there now,
Well, I mean, there's nothing you can do to scale it back. He's meeting code. Sign,
right,
to have a vote. Somebody make a motion?
I move to approve case A-30-2023 sign permit for 33 East First Street, Frederick Lynn, installation of one wall sign.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please, Bethany?
Commissioner Barclay?
Aye.
Commissioner Weinberger?
Aye.
Commissioner Harlow?
Aye.
Commissioner Prisby?
aye.
Commissioner Elder?
Aye.
Chairman Bonin?
Aye. Thank you, Cameron.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next one, case A 33-2023 for 114 South Washington Street, K Miso, installation of one wall sign.
Hello, my name is Colin. I'm one of the owners of K-Miso. We're looking to put together a 11.5 square foot backlit, a reverse halo letter sign with our logo on the front of the building.
The one day image you have with the logo placed on the front of the elevation,
Yeah,
it's probably just a graphic thing, but it looks like it's overlapping the top of the rectangle.
yeah, no, it will fit inside
Okay,
of the
that's
rectangle.
definitely
Yeah.
a big thing here. And then, is that going to be centered side to side
Yes,
in that space?
yes,
Because it almost looks like, again, graphically, it's pushed off to the right slightly. And I would want to make sure that that's centered in that space.
yeah, no, it should be centered.
Yeah, it's an angle picture there, and it just kind of.
It's
Right.
when we took the pictures, Vistro's patio was still there, and so trying to get an image of the front without plants in the way was a little difficult.
I do not have a problem with this.
Yeah, I'm
I
fine
don't
with
either.
it.
Yep.
Looks good.
Can we have a motion, please?
I'll move to approve case A-33-2023, sign permit review 114 South Washington Street, K-Miso, installation of one wall sign.
Second.
Roll call vote, please, Bethany.
Commissioner Barclay?
Aye.
Commissioner Weinberger?
Aye.
Commissioner Harlow?
Aye.
Commissioner Prisby?
Aye.
Commissioner Elder?
Aye.
Chairman Bonin?
Aye, thank you very much, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next case, A 38-2023 for 32 East First Street, Rush University Medical Center, one wall sign on the second story.
Thank you. My name's Jim Griffin. I'm with the law firm of Shane Banks here on behalf of Rush Hinsdale. This is a request for a wall sign. Rush is currently undertaking construction in this building for second floor offices, medical offices. There is no direct exclusive entrance from the first floor to this second floor, which necessitates us being here tonight. They are the main tenant in the second floor. They've got over 80% of the office space, 8,200 square feet on the second floor. Building permits have already been issued for the interior construction for this, and this is, of course, for the sign. This proposed sign does meet the square footage requirements, it meets the illumination requirements, and it meets the 3-color maximum requirement. I've got the Rush team here along with the project architect, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Jim.
Bethany, I have a question for you.
Yes.
In the downtown area, we've reviewed a lot of these over the years here, and I'm just trying to get my memory back here. How many internally illuminated lettered signs have we approved in, let's say, the last 5 years?
I will say, I believe that the majority of them have been on this building. I think this is one of the only places where, because it's been consistent, like, I think Circle Lighting had the individually face-lit illuminated. I think FedEx does. Rush is asking for the same thing, but I think it has just been this building in the downtown. There may have been a couple elsewhere, but they're not in the downtown.
So the FedEx logo is individual letters that are internally lit
Yes, they're on a raceway.
on this building already.
Yep, almost
Okay.
I think every, there might be a photo here
Another one
in the
saying short
packet.
line.
Yeah, I didn't see the end of the
No,
building.
there's not a street.
Okay, yeah, the FedEx one, and Verizon.
Verizon.
Verizon is the other one, and I know Visual Comfort and Co., which was Circle Lighting, also has the face-lit channel letters on a raceway. And in the downtown, I believe of recent years, this is the only building where that's been allowed.
And this meets the criteria for the illumination?
Yes, and they put some information, I believe, in the packet for that. The only strange thing about this, especially in relation to that last permit we were looking at, is this is a shared entrance. So the Plan Commission will specifically have to make a modification that's allowed by our code to allow them to have this sign on that shared
Right.
entrance.
Let me add, we do have some examples of the signage on the building, and this was designed to be consistent with the other signs that are already on this building.
I just know when we're looking at the rest of the downtown, we're not really big, or at least I'm not really big on the internally lit letters individually. And that's why I just want to get my bearings on the rest of the building,
Sure.
other locations where this has appeared. And knowing that it's already on this building, I personally don't have a problem with it.
No, I just walked by it and wasn't aware that we had so many lit signs on that building either, but they're there. So I don't have a problem.
The lettering is going within that rectangle, that the relieved rectangle that is made for a sign.
That is
That
what?
It looks like there's an outline. The lettering is the sign is going to be centered
Yes.
within that.
Yes, it'll be centered
Okay.
within that, correct.
And it won't be on the parking lot side. This is the street side.
Yeah,
Correct.
Correct.
Will you have a sign on the south side, on the parking lot side?
No, we're not intending to, because due to the code, there's only one additional sign allowed on the building. So we wanted that to face First Street just to acclimate patients, who will know where it is in the downtown.
Okay.
Any further discussion? So we'll recommend this or not, Bethany, but it has to go to plan because of the entrance
Yep.
situation with the duplicate?
This will go to Plan Commission on Wednesday.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve this, please?
I'll move to approve case A-38-2023, sign permit review 32 East First Street, Rush University Medical Center, installation of one wall sign.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Barclay?
Aye.
Commissioner Weinberger?
Aye.
Commissioner Harlow?
Aye.
Commissioner Prisby?
Aye.
Commissioner Elder?
Aye.
Chairman Bonin?
Aye, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck to you. Thank you. there any public comment at this time? Anybody would like to come up to the podium and talk to us about something? No? Okay. Move on to new business. Preservation incentive applications for historically significant structured property, alternate zoning regulations and accessory structures. We're talking about accessory structures. Rob, are you prepared to talk to us about that a little bit?
I'm prepared to listen to the conversation and offer a comment where you feel it might be appropriate.
I
guess
think
the only thing I would open with is the goal of this program at a high level, going way back to COVID, was find a way to move the needle and save some homes.
Right,
And I think we've done a pretty good job so far with that.
I agree.
And while, and Jim and I have talked about this at length with Tim Ryan, while I don't think anybody anticipated these alternative bulk zoning regulations being used for improvements to accessory structures, the reality is we've got people putting 6 figures plus into properties that, at least at a high level, in my mind, make them less apt to get demolished. And if at the end of the day, putting $250,000 into a new pool house saves the house, then isn't that preservation?
And that's the basis of the discussion. Therein lies the discussion. Because as a counterpoint, and this is just a suggested remark, adding a 4th and 5th garage to a property might also be a fair amount of money spent. It might tailor the needs of a specific owner, but as far as being a necessity, I would question it and whether it has value going forward, and if it saves the house, who knows? And I think that's where the rub comes in, is that we've opened up Pandora's box, and we're not afraid of what's there, but it absolutely becomes a mechanism by which people can add things that might not have any particular bearing on saving the house. So at what point do we cry foul or abuse and of course the easy answer is case by case basis. However, if it gets to be arbitrary, and we've got problems.
Last time I talked to Tim, there were several that were coming up that were simply accessory structures. Is that still the case?
So I looked at this before the meeting. We've so far approved, some of which went to the board. We've had 7 preservation incentive cases, 4 of which of those have had some sort of accessory. Not all of them were just primary, but if you remember, our first application was the detached garage for the 420 East 7th house.
Right.
And in talking to some of the architects, they've kind of told us that those have come first because they're easier. They're just easier to do, they're quicker to put together, and they are working on much larger home projects. So some of it might be that it's just what was easiest to put together as some of the first applications. But we do have more on its way, and as well as in addition to large additions, so.
Geez, and we discussed that particular one, and I think it bears our attention that all of a sudden rooms over attached garages can become living quarters.
No.
Well, they have to have certain things. Okay? They have to have certain things, but we know of instances in town where people put marine toilets in because they can't put a plumb toilet in. And so there are ways around these things. And one of the consequences of not analyzing each application could be that we have a proliferation of ancillary living quarters in houses where in fact we have not encouraged that in town. I know there's a national movement and all that sort of stuff, but in our town, we're very strict about that. Until we're not strict about it, I think that's one of the things that our antenna has to go up when people start talking about doing some of these ancillary structures.
I would concur.
Thank you. So, inasmuch as you're not inundated with that type of application now, have we seen enough of them to develop a thought on tightening up the Title 14? Or are we content to take it case by case until we see if it is a problem? And then if it is a problem, we'll have enough experience with the subject that we could make a more intelligent decision on whether or not to amend the language?
Based on what we're hearing from at least, Mike Abraham, who's had a few of these now.
Yeah.
It's a new program. I think we gotta take him at his word, that it takes more time to develop those plans
Yeah.
for the houses themselves.
Yeah.
And that this was the low-hanging fruit. I hope that's the case. But I'd hate for you to make a policy decision that had a chilling effect on the program.
I agree. I don't think we know enough to even address that. I just know in previous conversations you and Jim have had, that there was a concern that the gates had been open and there was gonna be a flood of people trying to shoot the crease on you. And we don't wanna leave you unprotected or have to be reactive, while we have a stack of applications. But if that's not the case, would be my thought that we sort of take these as they come and revisit this at a future date to see whether or not we have to reshape the language. Don't you think?
I agree.
Yeah. Anybody have a thought? You good with that?
Yep.
Perfect. Old business. Amendments to Title 14, status update. Not aware of any status update.
No updates.
No update. Okay. Certainly, going into the new year, this is something that we want to address. I don't know if we're gonna have a December meeting, whether or not, it probably depends on the workload. But let's make this a topic of conversation as commissioners. Let's go back and review, if you need to, the basis for the conversation, which essentially was, in this whole program of carrots, there was also a thought about having some sticks, if you recall. And the sticks were to take a stronger position on tear downs and change our recommended verdicts here, which have no teeth, to a program whereby our recommendation is made to the Board of Trustees on tear downs, and the Board of Trustees takes the final vote on whether or not to approve the tear down. We've reviewed this with various members of the Board of Trustees, singularly from time to time, and the consensus is they're comfortable with that. They think that's the kind of a decision that needs to be made by an elected official and not by an appointed commissioner. And they're willing to take that on. So that is the guts and feathers of some of the amendments that we discussed ad nauseum for a year and 3/4 with our consultant, Mr. D'Onofrio. And if anybody needs to go back and revisit our notes, or you weren't involved in those discussions with D'Onofrio and would like to read, we do have a paper generated, a white paper on our findings and recommendations. Perhaps Bethany would be good enough to resurrect that and put that in your mail or your next packet or whatever, so that when we do gather in January, and I suggest our meeting in January probably will be held, but won't be the 1st or the 3rd or whatever the hell the date was. it'll be farther into the month.
Yep, we're looking at rescheduling
Yeah,
that meeting.
right. I think a January meeting is fine. It's a good time to kick off the new year. And then we can talk about this subject and maybe I'll be a little bit versed in it so we can reintroduce it. Because the board is anticipating us progressing through this and passing it on to them for their review and either approval or disapproval. Okay? But I'd like to see the momentum continue in that regard. Okay?
I think one of the things that came out of that when we did this the first go-round is we weren't even really talking about incentives at that point.
Right.
It was all sticks.
Mm-hmm.
The incentives came back later. And I think some of the incentives are now in place.
Yep.
That we don't have to be so harsh with the sticks. So I think the first thing we're gonna have to do in January, I think, is really just review what we have.
Yeah.
With a fresh set of eyes a couple years down the road.
Let's see how we think about it. Maybe our thoughts have changed in the last couple of years.
I think they have, based on the incentive program.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I just want to take us back to where we left off before we started growing carrots.
Where does the sign review fit in as well? Because I know Commissioner Prisby did a lot of work on looking at signage,
A lot of work.
and I don't want to leave that sitting there either.
That also is on our sideboard, the Colorado work, a lot of that stuff that we talked
Right.
about. And Bethany also had thoughts on that. Rob and I have talked about it over the years. We have kind of an awkward sign code that doesn't always yield the results that we want. And Jim did a lot of work on that. We've just never gotten it up. It hasn't bubbled up to the table yet, but it's certainly another item for new business that we can take up again. And I thank you for remembering that. Good.
Bethany, for that meeting, if we do that at a rescheduled meeting in January, can you provide us with the most recent iteration of that document that we worked on with Mr. D'Onofrio?
Yes, I will try to figure out which document that is. I think I know which one you're talking about. There was a summary that was put together at some point as well, but there was a lot of documents. So I'll try to send out what I find, and you guys let me know, make sure I've got the right one. But I'll try to put together what we have from the past.
Yeah, we had several iterations.
Yep.
And offhand, I'm not sure that we could necessarily say, oh, it's the one from X month and X year was
Right.
at this point, because we've been away from it for a while. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Robbins Park Historic District Gateway signs.
Okay.
Bethany?
I apologize, I don't know why the computer isn't working, but if you do go to your packets, since the last meeting, I know we have a few more commissioners here since the last one. We kind of discussed some of the different signs. It seemed like that last sign option was the favored sign. So Parvin Klaus went back and put together some iterations on this. If you remember, they had incorrectly put historical district and we had them change the text to historic district. So option A and option B are very similar to the one from last time. The only difference is the reordering of where that logo is. So the logo for Hinsdale is in the middle in one and it's at the bottom of one. And then someone had a great idea, I apologize, I forget who it was, who said, is there a way maybe we could notch out the top to match the street toppers design? So option C now is that design that matches that. And I think they did have to make the panel slightly larger. If you do see, they added 4 inches in height, but it's insignificant.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
what I want.
nice. So, refresh me, please. Where do we stand on our budget funding these signs now? Are we waiting for next year?
So we essentially want to get this project done of you guys making sure that you like the design this year. We've paid for basically, and we've had budgeted the amount of money for the sign contractor to finish, and we want that done for this budget cycle. We've included money for this for next year in the economic development funds. So these will be hopefully fabricated and built next year, and that will go through the village board process in the next month.
So if we were to give you a vote now on which one we like, that would be,
That would be ideal,
Good
so we
idea.
can move it forward.
thoughts? Yes? Okay.
I have one, that,
Option C.
that, yeah, for option C, and Jim reminded me of this. We were gonna have the post be fluted so that it was, reminiscent of our downtown light fixtures. Not smooth.
I'll have them look into that, something that matches the downtown light poles a little bit better.
I remember that was part of a discussion we had the last time with a limited group. And I'm pretty sure Bill brought it up, that he liked the idea of having the posts match with the fluting.
Well, it looks a little more vintage,
Right.
Right.
having some.
It also ties to that base a
Yeah.
little better.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You wouldn't want a smooth black pipe. So,
What does everybody think?
I like C.
Like
C.
C.
Yeah, I like C.
All those in favor of C, say aye.
Aye.
Bethany?
That was easy.
That's easy.
Good,
Okay,
nice.
great.
Well done.
Exciting.
Sixth Street improvement. Anything new on the
No updates.
popular wisdom?
No updates.
No updates?
No.
Bill?
I don't have anything official. I have been told that this was sort of tabled until next year at the latest. Was it the facilities meeting? I'm a little out of my depth there because I'm not a part of that, but that's my understanding. I don't know exactly why, because a lot of work obviously was done this year. With that, I think it can cut either way, and so one way it could cut is that's good if we're able to husband some additional budgetary funds to do this the right way. But the corollary to that is I do know that there are some, based on what Kathleen said, there's some deadlines in terms of maybe it was the DuPage mayors and managers funding, and also there was something about there was a larger, it was either a state or federal loan that also had some sort of a deadline on it. You know, the funds had to be expended at a certain point. And then the last thing I would say about deadlines is at some point, before too long, we're gonna run up against the deadline that the village agreed to eons ago with Flag Creek and the storm sewer separation. I don't know when that is, and I would hope that if we do bump up against that, that the village could go to them and say, you know, we've redone more than 90% at this point, like, you know, cut us some slack, we're almost there. But those three things, Flag Creek, state or federal grants, and the DuPage mayors and managers are sort of on one side in terms of concerns, because we don't want to lose funding that we maybe have in place for this. On the other hand, maybe that is offset by or improved upon by having an additional round of budgeting. There is a group of citizens who are keen to see this project come out in a certain way, which is basically to replicate what is there. I'm not going to mention names now because we don't have anything to consider yet, but the path of least resistance will be to redo Sixth Street as a entirely Brick Street, including the intersection of Sixth and Park, and not expand the Southern Parkway because of the challenges that would present with all of the driveway aprons, most of which are not asphalt or concrete. So it would be a challenge to have residents match,
Yeah.
extend and match what they already have. And based on what was done on when Park Avenue was redone 2 years ago, that was not done successfully. So I think there's particular interest in not seeing that happen again on Sixth.
Okay. Old business not on the agenda, but just question. Of the projects that the village has been undertaking, the carillons and the railings and the patios and things like that, I know they appeared before us with the patio thing at one point. Is there a status on that you could give us?
So the carillon and bells were successfully installed, and they should be ready to be functional for Christmas walk, or for the holiday walk. They did do a testing, if anyone heard it, maybe last week, I think it was, which was great, because I know there were people all over trying to make sure it wasn't too loud or going in certain directions. So that is good news and will be functioning for everyone to hear soon. The plaza and the roof railing, I don't know the exact status. Our donation campaign fund, which you guys have heard about quite often, is up and running. I know they've gotten a substantial amount of donations. I don't know what that amount is right now. So I think now that that's about to end, because I think they were going to end it towards the end of the year, they'll know the next steps and what the next steps will be. But I think it does need to go to the village board for final approval at the end of the day.
So John, I wrote to Andrea and asked her that question 2 days ago in anticipation of tonight. And so far, roughly $52,000 has been raised.
For?
It's about, altogether, about 25,000 of that is for the plaza. The other 25,000 can be used for the plaza or the roof railing. And the amount that's been designated exclusively to the roof railing is de minimis. So that is not, I think, as much that was either expected or hoped for. And it doesn't take us particularly far with either project. But I do know that there's some potential more significant gifts that might be made. Obviously, people make donations with tax considerations before December 31st. And there is a proposal that is in front of the Hinsdale Junior Women's Club, but they will only consider something if we actually present them with a budget. And the library has talked about making a significant donation. And by significant, I think that's I think it's six figures. I could be wrong about that. That's my recollection from June, so that was half a year ago. But that amount is not included in the amount that Andrea sent to me today. So it's a pretty small number so far. There's some bigger things that are sitting out there, and we're coming into donation season with the end of the tax year. But I think those of us who worked on it were hoping that there would be more than $50,000 by November.
Yeah. And did we ever get, we had an estimate on the railings.
About somewhere between 80 and 100.
Right. But we never really, it didn't seem like we had any good estimates on the patio.
So the patio, and Bethany, you could weigh on this as well. There are several iterations of the patio. The least expensive was somewhere between $200 and $250, I think, $1,000. The most was in excess of $400,000.
And this was predicated on whose estimates?
This was, all of these estimates were provided by
Hitchcock Design.
Hitchcock. Yes, thank you.
So an architect,
Yes, architecture and
not
engineering.
contractors.
Correct. It
We
would
never
go,
went out for any scope bidding or anything.
No. Some of it obviously has to do with what the hardscape would be. And we
Yeah.
talked extensively about that, and, to a lesser degree, what sort of planting you do. There was some talk too in the summer about how the lawn of this building is used during the summer, which abused is maybe a better word. Particularly with Uniquely Thursdays, and that's not a knock on Uniquely Thursdays, it's great. But the planting can't be overly extensive or too precious because
Sure.
it will get destroyed.
Traffic.
So I think that the number was pretty firm with the railing, with the patio, plaza, whatever you want to call it. That was much more contingent on how much we might raise and get from grants and whether the village
Yeah.
might contribute anything.
Well, not my pig, not my farm, but it would seem that it would be smart to settle on 2 designs and put them out to bid and get some hard numbers from folks that would actually do the work. My experience with architects' estimates, no slur intended.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about.
I only mean when you go to the means manuals and things like that, it doesn't take into consideration the economy and the people that might need the work or want the work. If you're gonna go to people and ask for money, I think you have to know what you're gonna ask for. And it would seem to me that if you had a number in mind that was anchored into a plan, you'd have a better audience when you went to get the money. Nobody likes to put money into a hole.
Yeah.
And people don't like to commit money into a black hole because they don't know if their money's going to be used for the project or not. And if they know the numbers, sometimes it'll influence them and how much they put in a grant. So I don't know what the status is or where. Again, not our purview, but it would seem that would be a prudent way to approach this at this point.
Yeah, I would think that once we get past the end of the calendar year, that may be a good point to assess where we are. And
Yeah.
and then maybe try to, unlike the railing, which is concrete, that's the wrong term, but you know what I mean. The plaza, the iteration that's shown on the materials that were included in the campaign materials, including the buck slip that everyone should have gotten in the water bill this month. That was sort of the mid-range proposal, not the most or the least expensive.
Good. Any other business things you'd like to talk about? All good?
Good.
Can I have a motion for adjournment, please?
Move to adjourn?
Second, please.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Barkley?
Aye.
Commissioner Weinberger?
Aye.
Commissioner Harlow?
Aye.
Commissioner Prisby?
Aye.
Commissioner Elder?
Aye.
Chairman Bonin?
Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.